Let's be honest, you're losing gunfights in Warzone that you just shouldn't be losing. And today I'm going to share with you 3 pro tips that you guys have probably never considered, and these things are costing you guys gunfights without even realizing it. The good news is once you learn these, you'll start winning more of these gunfights and improve your KD as soon as today. Let's get into it. All right, pro tip number 1 I have for you guys is RT before LT, okay? Or right trigger before left trigger, R2 before L2, however you want to say it. Much like the thumbnail of this video where you saw me holding the controller, it is so important to press your right trigger before your left trigger in gunfights, especially close range gunfights. Let's talk about it. What do I mean by RT before LT? Literally pressing my right trigger, right? My fire button before I ADS. And a lot of you guys are probably saying like, duh, like obviously you want to shoot before you ADS. Like I know what a hip fire is, but it's far more than that. And I kind of want to explain that here. Let me back it up to where I even thought about this concept or even started to consider it because I never heard it talked about. But I was watching a pro player's footage. I went super nerd mode one day. I was watching a pro player's footage, went on YouTube, slowed it down to 0.25 speed and was like, how is this guy winning every gunfight other than putting all of his shots on target, not missing, having incredible aim? How is this pro player doing so well in winning these gunfights, especially these close range gunfights? Like there's got to be something more to this, right? So I slowed down the footage and I realized at 0.25 speed, I realized every engagement he was pressing his right trigger, especially close range gunfights, pressing his right trigger before his left trigger. So why is this important and like why do we need to practice this? Well, mainly because it gives you a split second advantage. RT before LT gives you a split second advantage in gunfights. Us as players, we're always looking for advantage in gunfights. I even mentioned to you guys last video that we were talking about mistakes, and we were talking about pre-firing specifically. And I mentioned to you guys, how many gunfights have you lost by one bullet that you really felt like you should have won? Well, this right here could be that difference maker. All right, another important thing to consider when thinking about RT before LT is your ADS time, your aim down sight time. We are trying to cut down ADS time altogether, and that's what using your right trigger before left trigger does. It cuts ADS time out completely. Obviously, you still have an ADS time. All right, the SMG has a pretty small ADS time. That's why they give us rear grips to help improve our aim down sight speed, right? But our goal of right trigger before left trigger is to cut that out completely. Let's say you're challenging this enemy, or let's say you don't know the enemies around this corner, okay? You didn't see him on the mini map. You have a UAV up. You didn't see him on the mini map. You run around this corner. A lot of what you guys will do is locate your target and then shoot him, okay? In other words, you're going to locate him LT and then shoot him, rather than just using your right trigger as a reaction, which is going around this corner and RT before you LT. So you might get a bullet off while you're ADSing, okay, because you have simply trained your brain, your mind, your hand-eye coordination to function in a right trigger before left trigger scenario. Something I need you guys to understand about this is you have to untrain your brain, and you have to rep this correctly, okay? So how do we untrain it, and what do I mean by untraining? Well, a lot of you guys have been naturally trained. I think any of us, I was the same exact way before I actually considered this or took this upon myself to learn, is that I had been training the wrong way my whole entire Call of Duty career. Like truthfully, okay, think about it. If you were to go to a gun range in real life, even if you haven't gone to a gun range, you can very easily consider this. You are not going to press your fire button before you locate the enemy. That's very unnatural for us as humans to do. Okay, think about it. I'm not going to press my trigger until I locate the enemy, right? Same thing here. A lot of us do not press our trigger before locating the enemy. A lot of the times it happens with ADSing and then shooting. But if I could explain this and make this as an effective tip as possible, I now want you to think about your RT. It's no longer, it stands for right trigger. It stands for your reaction trigger, okay? Meaning, whenever I come around the corner and I see this person, I see this enemy, my reaction trigger initiates. As soon as I see him, that is going to win you so many gunfights. I can't explain the importance of this. RT is your reaction trigger. I want this to press before anything, especially your left trigger, because when you react with your right trigger, you're going to end up getting shots on your enemy, and that will be the biggest difference maker in these gunfights. Okay, last couple of things. I know I've been rambling on and on about this tip, but it genuinely is so important. I want you guys to understand. So last 2 things I'll mention about it. First one is that the right trigger pull is only slightly before, if not at the same time as my ADS in a lot of these gunfights, right? A lot of these like close to mid-range gunfights, they're dang near at the same exact time, okay? So I don't want it to make it seem like my right trigger gets pulled and then my ADS, like it doesn't happen like right trigger, then left trigger. No. It is basically the same time, but if anything, I want my right stick to beat my left stick, okay? And like I talked about untraining your brain, like to exaggerate this feeling so that you guys get it correct, I want you guys to pick up targets, press your right trigger, and then press your left trigger, okay? And then obviously get it more game-like. Fly around the corner and then press both like pretty much at the same time, but I want your reaction to come with your right trigger first, okay? So all that to say, it's not like some crazy, you know, difference between the two. I want them pressed pretty similarly, but if anything, the right trigger should be the left trigger. Last thing I want to mention about this is go into your settings and make sure your dead zones are set correctly. Controller all the way down to the bottom, dead zones, and then make sure your left and right trigger are at 0. Okay, if you want any other info on the, you know, the rest of your dead zones, make sure you guys check out our actual aiming guide or our movement guide for those. But left trigger and right trigger should be at 0. If your controller can't handle 0 and is firing automatically, then it's probably time for a new controller, but put these as low as possible. And let's get on to the next tip. All right, tip number 2 is being fast to your target, okay? What do you mean, Mark, being fast to your target? I literally mean like locating your target and being fast to take it out. Like that's as simple as it is. And you're probably asking yourself, well, Mark, duh, like I'm always trying to get to my target as fast as possible before I kill them. Like I already do that. And to that, I would ask you like, okay, well, when's the last time like you actually focused on this, or like you actually tried to be as fast as you can to a target? Or maybe even when's the last time that you practiced this or like trained this? And for most of you guys, it'll probably be like, no, I've never really like thought of that or considered it, or I've never really trained it. And I know that was me. And so why did I even consider this in the first place? Well, once again, I went full nerd mode. I was watching a pro streamer and I was like really trying to understand why they do what they do. And in this case, the streamer was warming up on stream. They were in a private match. They had like 5 or 6 bots and they were just warming up their aim, shooting bots. And while I was watching him warm up, I was like, man, my guy is getting to targets so insanely fast. And I was like, oh, it's probably like his sensitivity. He's probably got a high sensitivity. Nope, didn't have a high sensitivity. It was pretty average, like maybe 7 cents. And I was like, but he's getting to targets, locating them and like switching between them so incredibly fast. And the best way I can explain this tip, and when I was watching him, I was like, he has to be putting an emphasis on this. Like it is like almost like scary fast. And that made me think of, well, something that we've all encountered in Warzone, if you've played for even a day or two, is a hacker. Okay, we've all watched hackers and how they, well, hack on us. We've all watched their kill cams and them switching between targets like unbelievably fast, because that itself is very abnormal and we can't actually do that. But what if we tried to switch targets as fast as a hacker? Like I know that is not actually possible, but like putting an emphasis on switching to and locating targets as fast as a hacker. That's what made me consider this in general, and like putting an emphasis on this in my gameplay is like, we actually have to think about this. We actually have to put this into play and practice these things and get to targets as fast as a hacker without actually hacking. All right, so how do we actually train this? How do we actually get better at getting to our targets faster? The first one is actually just the mentality of it. Thinking about getting to a target faster and putting an emphasis on that will in and of itself help you, but it might not translate unless you rep it in game. Okay, we're in the firing range here. I'm gonna give you guys some simple and easy drills. I used to play college baseball, and then after college baseball, I would train people on their swings, on their baseball swings. And you know, one of the oldest pieces of advice I can give you guys is slow is fast. Okay, this applies to everything. I would help train my players and help them understand the patterns of the swing, and we would work on this slowly to incorporate it to eventually ramp it up and actually do this fast. Same thing in game here. Okay, so all I want you guys to do is think slow is fast here. Okay, very slow to start. All we're going to do is put our center dot on the second target here, and then we're going to locate the first target. On ADS, locate the second target. On ADS, go back to the first target. Okay, and you're going to eventually do this, and you're just going to ramp it up a little bit, little speed over time. Okay, that's all I want you guys to do. Next step of this, just put a bullet down on the target. Okay, put a bullet down, put a bullet down, put a bullet down. Okay, and then eventually you're going to ramp up to a pretty uncomfortable speed. Okay, and I want you guys to miss. I want it to be so uncomfortable that you guys miss. Slow is fast is great, but something I learned from a guy named Andrew Huberman, you might have heard of him. He's a neurobiologist at Stanford, and he talks a lot about how our brains function and how our brains learn things. And something that is very beneficial to any sort of training process is being extremely uncomfortable. If you put yourself in such an uncomfortable position in your training, when you get into a game, it's going to become like second nature. The game's actually going to really slow down for you. So I want you guys to kind of think about that here too. Slow is fast is great to start. Once you feel like you're good at target switching and you're good at getting to a target like fairly fast, I want you to make it uncomfortable, because that feeling of being uncomfortable in and of itself will help you learn this skill and really any skill in life. But speaking specifically here, I want you guys to make it uncomfortable, okay? So once again, it's okay to miss, but this is what it would look like for me to be uncomfortably fast, right? As you see, like I'm hitting some targets, but like, you know, it's pretty, I'm moving uncomfortably fast, like pretty abnormal, almost as if like a hacker would like switch, but the hackers don't miss, right? So I want you guys to start slow is fast, but then ramp it up to a speed that is genuinely uncomfortable for you, okay? And we all have that speed. Thinking about that kind of shows you that, like, even for me right there, I'm not obviously warmed up, so I'm probably not gonna hit as many targets as I normally would, but even for me right there, that speed was like pretty uncomfortable. That shows you I have room for improvement, okay? Just as that pro player was warming up and getting their targets faster that I was talking to you about earlier, warming up against bots, we have to try to do that, and we have to try to work so fast that like our mind and muscles like almost like can't even keep up, right? I want you guys to get to an uncomfortable spot. Start slow as fast, get to an uncomfortable spot, and once again, it's okay to miss, okay? A lot of us are you're gonna go right here and you're gonna aim and you're going to go long and you're gonna go short, okay? That is perfectly fine. I promise you, it is not your sensitivity. Do not change your sensitivity throughout this. Your sensitivity is fine. You just need to get the mind muscle connection better. Train this. Get to targets faster by training this. Like I said, eventually just ramp things up to, you know, at a speed that is a little bit uncomfortable for you, and then dial it back in. Play it like you would in a game. Once you get into a game, if you just put even like 3 minutes, like I do this before every single stream, just switch back and forth between targets, try not to miss any bullets, etc, etc. If you do this for 3 minutes before you start gaming, I promise you it's going to make you a better player, and putting an emphasis on it in game while you train it is going to help you win a lot of gunfights. Now pair this tip with the first tip we talked about with RT before LT. You're gonna be a demon on the map. Let's get into tip number 3. All right, tip number 3, final tip of the video. First of all, I just want to say, if you guys have made it this far, I friggin' appreciate it. Genuinely, thank you for watching this video. If you guys have any questions about this video or any others that I have, or maybe you guys just want to hang out and watch me implement these tips live on stream, we're live every single night but Sunday on kick.com/MarkClarkk. We might be live right now. We've been playing a lot of ranked Warzone, basically until Verdansk comes out. Love to have you guys stop by, man. But let's get back into the tips, okay? Tip number 3 is target versus reticle. Which one do you guys look at when aiming at your enemy, okay? So I'm asking you guys, target versus reticle, what do you guys look at? Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, what do you look at when aiming at the enemy? Are you looking at his head? Are you looking at his chest? Are you looking at the red dot in the middle of your screen? Are you looking at the reticle? What are you looking at when aiming? What if I told you that a lot of you guys actually do this wrong, and there's scenarios for both? All right, so I literally hate when people answer questions like this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. The answer truly is it depends. But I'm gonna give you guys 2 concrete rules to go by so you guys can know which scenario is for which. So from now on, long range engagements, let's say I'm to shoot at this fire hydrant right here. Long range engagements, you are now looking at your reticle. The only thing you want to do is put this reticle on your target at all times. That's the only thing I want you to think about is the reticle. Why? Because there's a lot of recoil, right? And actually not that much recoil in COD guns, let's be honest, but there is recoil, and to control that recoil, I literally just want to put that red dot on my target, right? That's all I'm trying to do. So now, from now on, long range gunfights, I want you guys to at least try, if you haven't considered it before, try to look at your reticle for long range gunfights. It helps recoil control, it helps tracking the enemy a lot better. Look at your reticle for long range gunfights. Now, close range gunfights is when it's different. Let's say this guy, for instance, okay, we picked on this girl earlier, shot her head off. I feel actually bad. We're gonna pick on this dude a little bit. Close range engagements, okay? Got my SMG out. This guy right here, and when I talk about you know, like the target or the reticle, or you know, the enemy or your reticle, which one are you looking at? Reticle in close range gunfights would technically be like my center dot. I don't want to look at my center dot while I'm facing people in close range or close quarter engagements, right? Why? Is because this guy could bounce, he could slide cancel to the left, to the right, he could slide cancel right by me, and if I'm just trying to like put this like center dot on him, I'm going to lose a lot more engagements rather than if I just focus on tracking him, the person. So that's why I say it depends, because truthfully, close range quarters, you want to track the person because there's so many different directions that they could go in, whereas like, you know, this guy right here, he can only like slide to the left or slide behind cover. Like, I'm going to be able to track that all within my field of view while I'm aimed down sight, while I'm literally looking at him with my reticle. Okay. This guy, for instance, could go any which direction. I might have to completely like 180 to like track him and stuff. Like I want to look at him, the actual target. So if you guys have never considered that, maybe just put this into consideration and try it. Like focus on this for a couple matches of Rebirth or whatever you guys are playing. Think about it. Practice it even in the range, long range. You guys are now looking at the reticle. It helps control recoil and track your enemy better. Whereas close range, you guys are actually looking at the target itself. There you guys have it. I hope you guys have gathered something new to make you a better Call of Duty player. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Would love to respond to you guys down there or answer any questions you guys may have. Also, thank you guys so much. We're almost to 100,000 subscribers on the channel, so make sure to sub if you haven't already. I'll leave our latest video right here. And until next time, we'll see you.